Rich are getting much richer. They got so much money they can't even spend it here on Earth. They're off in outer space spending their money. A lot of our people worry how they can afford a car. These guys are busy buying spaceships.
Respond through unprecedented action. The budget resolution we are debating today is simple and it is straightforward. It will enable us to pass President Biden's. Now, Mr. President, I have heard from some of my Republican colleagues who tell us that, well, this reconciliation concept, that's a radical idea. Why are you using reconciliation?
Hey folks, and welcome back to my channel. Let's go over the very important stimulus check news. A couple of states like Florida, New York, and even Georgia are sending out their own state stimulus payments. And so here's what I want you to know. In the state of Texas, they have not confirmed a statewide retention bonus, but certain districts are doing their part for teachers. Fort Worth and Arlington, Texas will increase pay by 4% for all district employees. In a couple of other counties, teachers will receive a 2% raise. If you believe you could be eligible for these state stimulus checks, folks, make sure to log on to your state's Treasury website to either register with your state or contact its Treasury Department. In the state of Georgia, the state has more generous plans. Governor Kemp authorized all full-time teachers and administrators to receive $1,000 checks, with part-time teachers receiving $500. There's a plan underway to provide for pre-K educators as well. In the state of Florida, they've allocated $1,000 checks to most teachers and administrators. In a situation everybody is still developing. So even if you're not a teacher or an administrator, you might be receiving more state stimulus funds. Is your state governor, folks, also sending out state stimulus checks? Tell me in the comments below. New York State also created a $2.1 billion fund for undocumented workers that were unable to claim federal stimulus monies. To qualify, you must be a resident of a state and have made less than $26,000 in 2020. Several states have decided to use some of the federal money as retention bonuses for their teachers, as most schools are expected to open in person this year. New Mexico also has their own state stimulus program, and it is sending out $5 million to certain New Mexicos, to certain residents. In regards to the unemployment benefits, here's what I want you to know. About 3.2 million people are long-term unemployed, meaning they've been out of work for at least 6 months, according to the jobs report in August. They represent 37.4% of all unemployed individuals. More than a third of jobless Americans, everybody, in August were long-term unemployed, as benefits for these workers are set to expire. About 3.2 million people, or 37.4% of the total employed, have been out of work for at least 6 months. The share has fallen for 2 consecutive months and is less than its March 2021 peak of 43.4%, but August's level remains high by historical standards. Individuals, everybody, that are out of work for long periods of time typically face greater financial hardship. Household income may drop significantly, and finding a new job becomes more difficult, according to labor economists. The dynamic may negatively impact long-term earnings potential and increase the odds of losing a future job. Federal expansions of unemployment benefits have propped up household income during the crisis, and blunted these financial impacts. The unemployed can typically collect state unemployment insurance for up to 26 weeks, though some states offer less. The expansions offered several additional weeks of federal finance benefits for the long-term unemployed.
Partisan plan, but not this plan. Not one. And some big corporations are spending millions of dollars, and legitimately, I mean, they're lobbying to try to escape their obligation to pay the taxes they owe, leaving working families to pay a larger share of the burden. Somebody's got to pay. And when those who can afford to pay aren't paying anywhere near their fair share, it means you all pay more. You know, this has worked in the past with significant lobbying efforts, but I don't think it's going to work with me. For those big corporations that don't want things to change, my message is this. It's time for working families, the folks who built this country, to have their taxes cut. And those corporate interests doing everything they can to find allies in Congress to keep that from happening. Let me be, as the old expression was, perfectly clear. I'm going to take them on. We're going to pass these measures. We're going to build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down. And when corporations and the wealthiest start to pay their fair share, it's going to put millions of people, according to all the estimates, millions of people to work in jobs that are going to help them punch their ticket to the middle class and stay in the middle class. And everyone will do better, including corporate America. Look, just think about it. Throughout our history, when the middle class has done well, when it prospers, has there ever been a time the wealthy and corporate America doesn't do well? I can't think of one. Our country needs these investments. I'm not asking anything other than some fairness being injected into the system. Like I said, behold here. The fact is that, the very wealthy, well, they're still going to have 3 homes or 4 homes if they want. It's not going to change what schools they can send their kids to. It's not going to change their standard of living. But just pay a fair share. Corporate America is going to continue to do very well. I've seen no evidence to suggest that it's going to cost jobs or cost, and now we need Congress to finish the job, to come through for the American people, ensure that the economy continues to gain strength and stability as we move forward. Now, finally, third thing we need to do, all of us, is to stick together. We have to put ourselves on track to accomplish extraordinary things. A strong, inclusive, historic economic growth. Landmark investments to create even more good jobs and deliver breathing room for millions of families. A giant step forward in the fight against climate change, the crisis made more evident than ever by the death and destruction caused by extreme weather just these past few days. My agenda, I believe, is one that every American, if they understand it, can get behind. Because of the work we've all put in, not just here in Washington, but in communities across the country, every one of those goals is now within our reach. Coming together has always been part of the DNA of Americans. And if we can summon that instinct within us to unite, as one people, one nation, there's nothing beyond our capacity. So let's keep going. Let's stick together. Let's remember who we are. You've heard me say it time and again, we're the United States of America. And the rest of the world is looking to us. Just because we are the most prosperous nation in the world right now. We're growing. And there's a fairness to what we're doing. A fairness. We'll still have millionaires, we'll still have billionaires, we'll still have corporations that do incredibly well and CEOs that make a lot of money. But everybody has to start paying their fair share. Thank you very much.
On abortion rights in Texas, sir?
Pardon me?
One question on abortion rights in Texas, sir. What would be your message to women in Texas, and what can your administration